In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time. Do you have what it takes to become a soccer superstar? Look no further than Soccer Pro Academy. Led by experienced coaches, including a former Socceroo, the Academy provides world-class training to help you reach your full potential. From technical skills to tactical awareness, they'll help you develop the skills and mindset needed to succeed at the highest level. Soccer Pro Academy, where champions are made.
Well done, boys.
Are you looking for the perfect kit for your football club? Try Arrow Sport today. From jerseys to shorts to socks, Arrow Sport will have you completely covered. We can even cover your merchandising line, including hats, beanies, scarves, jumpers, and so much more. So if you're looking for excellent lead times, great pricing, and even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au. And even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au.
Looking for a haven to unwind and indulge? Look no further than Brista Cafe, nestled in the heart of Derrimut Village Shopping Centre. From decadent homemade gourmet cookies to scrumptious muffins, every bite is a delight. Everyone loves Brista Cafe, and you will too. So why wait? Visit Brista Cafe today and taste the difference for yourself.
Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called There Is Only One Football.com, guys. You've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Now, what is going to happen here right now is, and I'm hoping we're going to get a visitor here. And is that Loui? Is that Loui? We've got you, Loui. Amazing to get you on. Fantastic. So fantastic guy. This is the president of Brunswick City Soccer Club, Loui Kastanos. How are you, Loui?
Now, thanks, Harry. Thanks for having me, mate.
Fantastic. Now, there's something very big happening in a few weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, there certainly is. Along with yourself, we'll be, 11th of April against
Bentley Greens.
Bentley Greens. We're having a big event, a community event down at our club. As you've witnessed over the past 2 seasons, 500 odd people come in to watch our home games on a Friday night here at Dunstan Reserve in Brunswick. So on that night, we're expecting an even bigger crowd.
Oh, we had over 1,000. Over 1,000. Looking over 1,000.
Yeah, we came close to that against Preston last year during our home game.
Yes.
So the crowds are definitely there. We're in a good place here at Brunswick at the moment.
Fantastic. I'll bring Carlos on. Carlos is one of the hosts that's coming down to Melbourne, of course. Carlos, you have any questions for Loui? And is there something you want to talk about? You might want to say something too. I know what you're going to say.
Well, I would like Mr. President to tell us about the history of the club and who were some of the pioneers within the club that make the club what it is today.
Yeah, the club was formed in 1970 by Greek immigrants. It was a smallish club. We still are a small club, but we're a community focused. We've had some, NSL players with Johnny Verikakis, who played with South Melbourne. The names I mentioned earlier before with Mickey P, Paul Wade, and a few of the other boys there, Trimmers, etc. We've had the former junior player Shamoon, who's at Western United at the moment. We've got sorry, someone was just calling me then. We've got the young captain for our young Socceroos that just won the Asian Cup, former Brunswick City Junior. So we've had a lot of boys come through. The club, has grown over the years since we've got our NPL status. When the NPL was first introduced, junior programs have improved a lot. We're quite strong these days. We've got girls, men, senior women, senior men's, NPL boys, mini roos, social women's, social girls programs, mini Spartans. The club's got over 500 participants now.
Amazing.
So, we're in a good place.
Angelo?
Yeah, look, Loui, congratulations firstly to you and Harry. I know Harry is the host of the show, but I talked to Harry off air a lot of times about community focus, community engagement. That's one of my favourite passions. As a marketing person, I always utilise that, whether it was at Adelaide City and then later on Adelaide United. I think it's very important, as you mentioned, that Brunswick City has not forgotten. They've just continued to motor on about the community engagement because really the heartland of football is community. The community focused, that's where we can grow. And I really want to congratulate you and your club and your board members. And of course, Harry, he doesn't get enough credit, with this sort of initiative. Harry and I speak about community focused, even for the A-League teams, because they need it. It's no good to be elitist with the A-League. I know that when I started with Adelaide United as a board member, then later on as a CEO, we always had that mission statement, and that included community focused at large, going out to the wider community and not just preaching to the Italian or Greek or Croatian or Serbian or Chinese or Indian, but just to have the flagship and the mainstream focus on Australianising the game. And I think that when Harry mentioned to me about, the fact that he was doing this show, I really applauded and encouraged Harry. And he will tell you, this is not about Harry, but about Harry always being community focused even with this show. So this is my observation. Unfortunately, I want to ask you the question. The question is, obviously I was asked, why did you come up with this initiative and why did you applaud it? Because I think that there are so many clubs that should be doing this.
Yeah, no, it's very well said. Community is the focus. When we took over a couple of years ago, myself as president, that was my aim. Community, the locals. Yep, it's great to be out there saying, I'm Divi 1 NPL, I'm Divi this, Divi that. To me, it means nothing. To me, it's about developing the kids and developing the kids in your local community, providing a safe place for them. The locals be able to come here, all the kids getting together, school friends, coming have a safe place to come and play football, and at the same time bringing their parents along and creating a place where parents can mingle, parents can socialise, talk about football and talk about other events. So when I first met Harry, he had a similar focus to me, which was, as you said, community. And slowly over the past 2 years, it has been our main focus, getting the community back at the club, past players back at the club, Brunswick boys who have grown up in the local area back in the 80s, 90s, and even the 70s. We've still got a lot of former players from the 1970s who come and support our senior boys and our senior women. So I applaud Harry, and I'm really grateful for the time we spent at our club. And between the two of us, we're going to continue to promote it, because you're right. It's about community.
It is. And
Absolutely.
want to welcome Tony, because Tony was going. Sorry, Angela, you go first.
Yeah, no, welcome, Tony. It's good to see Tony. And also, I didn't mention, it's great to see Carlos there. The suit and tie. He looks absolutely like a commentator for BBC.
I know,
BBC commentator.
just came from work, eh?
The lawyer BBC commentator. Anyway, Louis, just to round it off, you've got so much there as a foundation. Mickey Peterson, Paul Wade. Of course, I used to love, and Trimboli. When I used to love it when they came to Adelaide, because playing against Adelaide City, we used to get double the crowd. It was like playing the local derby. When Brunswick came to Adelaide, we would get 8, 9, 10,000. So you've got the foundation there of those heroes. I would say they're heroes now. Mickey Peterson's been at the end of winning a title. So has Paul Wade, and so has Trimboli. Fantastic. I applaud you 100 times.
Now, Kenny's going to be coming down too, Louis. Kenny's coming down. We're going to have all the hosts there, the way we do it tonight. Now, Kenny, how many people have you, mate? You got the whole Scottish community coming to Brunswick City. Is that right or what?
Man, well, you've probably got nearly the whole Heidelberg team.
Oh my God, here we go.
Kenny Taylor will be there. Hopefully, Gary Cole will be there. Maybe Jimmy Campbell. There'll be some South Melbourne boys, because Wade's coming down.
Chris Calafatidis too, yes.
Yeah, so mate, just make sure there's plenty of wheelchair access for the...
Oh my God. Now...
Well, we've got to get the hero happening, Harry.
Mate,
we normally cook 150 kilos of meat on a Friday night.
Honestly,
it sounds like
I'm half Greek. I live in Greek restaurants, so I'll be told you get the best of Lackey in Victoria.
We definitely do.
Ask Tony, because Tony was in there doing it last year, the first show. And Tony, what did you see there last year, mate? It was the most amazing show. You were treated like of course, Peter was giving him the Uzos, giving him Uzos and everything. Mate, it was the most amazing night. It was a beautiful night. You had the CEO of Football Victoria, Chris Palavanis, there. We had so many people. We had John Varakakis. We had Tony there, explaining everything, how Craig's development happened and where he's playing at the highest level now too. That was amazing, Tony, what you did last year, that is, yes.
Look, the hospitality shown there at Brunswick was fantastic, meeting everyone down there, all the behind-the-scenes people too. They're all great characters, and Uzo's always been my favourite drink. And Peter was giving me these samples, and that was really good stuff too. Stuff that would really clear the back of your throat. So I loved it. It was a great night. It was a good game on as well, and they won, which was fantastic. So it was fantastic meeting those people, and the people from BPL, in Victoria there. They were all present. It was a highly enjoyable night, and effort they are putting into bring the community is first class. I mean, I'd love to see it at a lot of different clubs, but they've got the right model for that engagement of people and making everyone feel welcome there. And
of course, Carlos, you're not going to dress up that night the way you are like that. We don't want you to dress up like a.
Well, I was thinking of wearing my poncho.
No, you're wrong, Harry. He should. He looks absolutely fantastic.
Guys, does anyone watch Foxtel where you get Judge Judy?
Yes, I do.
Well, we're going to get a new one on Foxtel. Judge Carlos.
Oh my God! Yeah. But believe me, let me tell you guys, I have to get. And Louis seen me get there early because I go for the souvlaki straight away. And Louis, you've seen me get there early because I want to get my dinner from Brunswick City. And mate, it is, I tell you what, straight off the rotisserie, straight into the bread, mate. And of course, I think Tony tasted souvlaki last year too. Oh, it's beautiful, guys. I tell you what,
the smell of it was great.
Oh,
Harry arrived for the smell of things. Look.
Just one thing, Harry. You're very lucky that you're not doing the show yesterday because it was St. Patrick's Day and Kenny
lucky.
absolutely hates the green.
Oh my God! Yes, yes, that's right. Celtic.
Sad thing,
And Rangers had a win.
Yeah, we smashed them, mate, 3-2. And it looks as though I think we're in the quarterfinals of the Europa. So, mate, we've got a bit of a. Mate, you talk about Lazarus making a comeback. Rangers have just came out of nowhere. Angela's right. I mean, St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately for me, most of my best friends are Celtic supporters, and they give me heat. So it's not very often that I can actually get one up on them. But mate, the Irish and the Scottish, we know how to celebrate. Don't worry about that.
And I'm hard, Barry.
And of course, we want to speak to Loui about this week. You're playing another Greek team, of course, Kingston City. Is that right? Is it Kingston City?
That's right.
And we've also got
Kingston City at home.
And we've also got some legends there too. They may even turn up as well. Peter Tsalakis might turn up. He's one of the coaches there as well. We'll try and get him to the on the 11th as well. And they're actually playing Bentley Green. So we're talking here the rivalry between the Greeks and the Cypriots, and that'll be very different. Again, George Katsakis, you're going to have Lee Broxham playing for Bentley Greens. You're going to have Jesse Macaronis. The two play together that's an amazing night. That, because I tell you what, after the show, you can watch that rivalry between Jesse and Lee as well. Because and also when you look at your coach too, your coach Nick Kyrgiakopoulos, apparently his captain was Paul Wade, so he knows Paul Wade as well. What history has there as well too, Loui?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a junior there and just and played there at South Melbourne as well. So, yeah, we've got a bit of pedigree here at Brunswick. It's great. It really is. And looking forward to having everyone down here at Brunswick.
I've got to ask you a question. How many Greek and Cypriot clubs is there in Melbourne?
Oh, there's heaps. There's heaps. I mean, just in our division, I think there's 5 off the top of my head.
Wow.
And then you got Port Melbourne, South Melbourne, Heidelberg, up above in MPL. There's probably, across the two divisions, probably about 8 or 9 Greek clubs.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So we're quite strong. We're quite strong. I mean, we all fight for sponsors. That's a difficulty. Look,
it's interesting. We'll get 8 or 9 clubs, but they're splintered. They're all individual.
Yes.
Is that by geography or is it just by community?
Community and basically business.
Yeah.
It's so we reach out there and people support local football here.
Yeah.
And especially being such a popular game, as we all know, and being played for so many, people want to jump on board. And we're a small club. We can't compete against the bigger clubs financially, but the sponsors know that we try to look after our junior program, but at the same time ensure that the sponsorship pays for our senior wages. That's what's critical for me. Mm-hmm. We run the club as a business. We don't run the club where we're overspending and worry about promotion. We live within our means, and that's what keeps us going. And our sponsors see that, and they appreciate that, and they continue to support our club.
Carlos?
Loui, in New South Wales, and I assume Victoria is the same, we have seen higher densities across the urban areas, but the number of playing fields that people have to play football, hockey, has remained the same. So what are the challenges facing a club like yours that is growing when it appears from where I sit, and I assume Victoria might be the same, we have these high densities right, left and centre, but the number of playing fields catering for football, hockey, you name it, everyone wants a patch of grass. They're not keeping up with the population explosion. So is that a challenge for your club, other clubs, as you grow and you move forward? Where are you going to accommodate all your numbers?
That is a problem we're having at the moment, and you're spot on. We are having the same problem here in Victoria. We're a few kilometres out of the city of Melbourne, at the main the town there, and we've got 2 grounds, and our second ground is terrible. because we're using a ground with dogs. It's a dog park. It's what our councils call open space. It's open for all. So you've got kids in the evenings trying to kick a football, and then you've got dogs that are walking around and doing their business during the day. It is so unfair. And unfortunately this year, because our numbers have grown so much, we've had to knock back kids.
Gee.
And these are discussions I'm having with council. I've actually got a meeting with council tomorrow to discuss this exact issue. Improvement of our fields and also getting access to other grounds within the municipality. But unfortunately, we've got 4 clubs that are within a 5-kilometre radius, all located within the same council, competing for the same grounds. And it's very, very difficult. But it's a battle that I'm fighting daily, and I'll continue to fight because without the grounds, we can't survive. We really can't.
So is the future unlike? It appears to me that there are many synthetic grounds in Victoria. So is the future, or part of the solution, is to go more synthetic grass to cater for the heavy traffic and population explosion?
Yeah, well, that's my view as well, but unfortunately, it's not the council's view. We're located within Marybeck Council, formerly known as Moreland, and recently had a name change. And it's a green council, and the Greens are against synthetics because apparently the synthetics affect the waterways and the water table and gets into the streams. This is where we're sitting at the moment. So unfortunately, whilst the Greens are in power within the city of Marybeck, we will never get synthetics. There is 2 synthetic grounds within the entire municipality that we share with with 3 other clubs. It's ridiculous.
Can I throw my 10 cents in here? We live in Australia. The biggest per head of population, we've got the biggest landmass in the world per head of population. Why we can't go to some of the national parks and just carve off some grass and create, like in Europe, where there's 10 or 15 pitches, in each place, is beyond me. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I understand, the push for people to want to use synthetic, only because we've got councils now that don't look after grass. There's no maintenance anymore. Back in my day, the council guys were there with forks and making sure the grass was cut. That's gone out the window now. They don't maintain anything anymore, really. I mean, most of the local clubs maintain their own grounds. They cut the grass. The chairman, the presidents are running around marking the grounds and canteens, and it's just gone a bit silly, really. But for me, football's played on grass. You don't get extreme top level football played on AstroTurf anywhere in the world now. In actual fact, in most countries they're getting rid of them. Holland, they're getting rid of all the AstroTurfs, and I get it from a weather perspective, but that's only because here, unfortunately, you just have to spirit a ground and the council close it.
Yes.
They don't even go. They don't even go. There might be a puddle in the goalmouth.
Yeah,
Might be a puddle in the goalmouth, and they shut the ground.
That's amazing you said that, Kenny, because yesterday the boys at Brunswick City played on synthetic. That's a coincidence. And how did you guys go there, Loui, yesterday?
Yeah, we drew 1-1 with Pauline, but it's interesting what you say because the ball does move quicker on the synthetics.
Yes.
Any other day, that ball went the through ball, catching the defence square, it would have slowed down on the grass and potentially our strikers, would have got to that ball. But on the synthetics, the ball travels. We had the same thing. The 19s and 23s also played on the same surfaces. I'm not a fan of them, and I'm hearing also that back injuries, spinal injuries, the surface is quite hard, and it does also affect your body as well, especially with young kids who are growing, going through puberty. They do suffer with the synthetics. But I think synthetics are good as an alternative ground.
Yeah.
So as a second option where your ground is waterlogged and you need to keep off it, there is a ground there that they can potentially move to and train.
But in today's technology, if we can't build grounds with exceptionally good drainage, there's something wrong. We're talking it's crazy. I mean, it really is. I mean, and you know what's happening in the Netherlands and Holland? They're finding cancer issues with synthetic grounds. All this is starting to crop up. And this only comes up through historical, usage. It doesn't happen like COVID, where we get injections after 6 weeks and saying it's that'll cure you. Yeah. So anyway, cut a long story short, for me, go to the national park, all the national parks, and just carve a little bit. We're not asking for just enough to get 10 or 12 grass grounds, and then all these clubs could get a couple of pitches, and it would certainly alleviate, and it would allow us to extend the seasons. Because at the moment, and my bugbear here, and we talk about it all the time, most of our grassroots kids are only playing 16 or 17 games a season. They should be playing 28, 30, 35 all over the world. I mean, we're not playing enough football. We're finishing 25th of August, and we don't actually start again until Easter, April, technically. We may get a few friendly games in, but we can't go on the pitches for cricket, Aussie rules. There's too big a gap. Far too big a gap. And that goes back to, again, stunts development. It's stunts development.
Carlos, you've been waiting for a while. Sorry, Loui.
Sorry.
You're
okay, Carlos, sorry. No, I was just going to say, it goes back to real estate. Because we're in a Melbourne, there is no real estate. That's the problem. It's easier to sell it off to developers because they make a lot more money to build a football field or any other sport. Unfortunately, it is. And here in Victoria as well, the AFL is the dominant. And at senior level, a lot more money will go into the AFL than what it ever will in football. And we see that with the A-League clubs here in Victoria. The financial situation with a lot of them compared to the AFL teams, it's chalk and cheese. It's just, and it's hard. It really is. And I wish there was a solution. I've been searching for it. And unfortunately, I can't find it. All we can do is just keep lobbying council, just to invest some money to fix our grounds.
Is the issue, okay, once again, speak about New South Wales, Mr. President, and the majority of football grounds in New South Wales are reclaimed garbage dumps, which is clay-based, so they flood very quickly. There are very few sand-based football grounds which they absorb water. Is the same in Melbourne? Because if we're going to go grass, we need to rip up a lot of the clay-based football grounds, relay with sand, and re-turf those grounds. Is the same in Melbourne, that a lot of them are clay-based and it just doesn't drain?
It is, especially in Brunswick, it's clay. Our ground's on a former creek and tip.
Yep.
So we know. And our main ground was redone in 2018. Drainage was put below that, and that sounded quite well. We recently had, and this is where I've been arguing with council, they used a hybrid, which is a combination of synthetic and natural grass, but they only put it in the 6-yard box out to the 18-yard box, and they ignored the rest of the ground. So, they're spending all this money on trying to upgrade the ground, but doing it in patches. I don't understand that. If you're going to do it once, do it right. Spend the money. Whereas our second pitch is which is our problem, is an old football ground, a cricket ground, which was given to us once a cricket club moved out. And this has no drainage. And council refused to spend money on this ground because it has no drainage.
Okay.
So what we're hoping is that, we get a grant to get this fixed. And that's what we're lobbying for, a nice little grant to get drainage put in and make it into a purpose-built football ground. And not an old cricket/football AFL ground.
Angelo, you're in Europe right now, in Italy, of course, and you know exactly what sort of grounds they use. What is the system over there with it's only one sport there. We know it's soccer or football, how you call it. Yeah. So it's ahead there.
Sure. Look, in Italy, and I've travelled in England and Germany, Spain, Switzerland, but in Italy, the synthetic pitch is used a lot, and they're developing more and more synthetic pitches in Italy. And I can tell you that in Serie B, you can play your game under regulations of the federation. The National Federation will allow you to play a Serie B game on a synthetic pitch.
Oh, my God.
Like, for example, Yugoslavia Yugoslavia, the club that I'm a bit more involved with, Serie B, they played all their games on a synthetic pitch. Now, the synthetic grass, I'm not sure about Australia. I know that West Adelaide developed one, but in Italy, they're very much like grass. I mean, if you walk on it and it's treated on a weekly basis, maintained, and it's almost like grass, you know. They give it a certain amount of, product that they apply to it. And like I say, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but a problem in Australia, also based on what Carlos was saying and Loui, I believe we've got too many entities. For example, the councils cannot afford to develop a pitch for each of the entities we have. For example, Loui just mentioned before, very interesting, how many Greeks and Cypriot clubs are there in Melbourne, in Sydney, in Adelaide, and so on. Look, AFL are successful also because of the reason I'm about to tell you. They actually franchise clubs. They unite clubs, and they become part of one identity, something that football has never been able to do. Heidelberg wants to be Heidelberg, South Melbourne wants to be South Melbourne, South Melbourne, Sydney Olympic, and so on and on and on. Now, with Port Adelaide Football Club, if I may mention it for a couple of seconds, Port Adelaide Football Club in the AFL, before they were rivals with Norwood Football Club, the Redlegs, and there was South Adelaide and so on and on. What happened when Port Adelaide Football Club was born, they actually created relationships with these other four clubs, hence now they are the biggest, the club that has the biggest followers. Now, this is something that I know that football in Australia will never be able to do. I mean, the tribal and the cultural changes and the division that we've got. We've got too many clubs, too many entities, and we cannot afford to have, state-of-the-art pitches like Kenny was saying. Develop them. Buy some land and develop. Yeah, but we've got far too many entities and we're divided. We are a game that suffers from division.
Exactly. Now, Tony,
the issue we've got, though, mate, and going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm not even suggesting that they have to buy anything. Two things can happen. We have the biggest participation sport in the country by a length and a mile. That adds up to votes. Votes are really... We don't use our political power to gain at things like pitches and drainage, and we should be, because we've got a wielding power there. Because partly, and what we were saying early on, because we fracture, we don't unify. Well, in situations like that, if we unify as a sport and went to the Labour government and said, guys, here's what we're going to tell you. You support the AFL, you support the NRL, you hardly support us. We want just carve us some stuff, whether it be the national parks or whatever, like reclaim some stuff for us. Nothing that the Greenies are going to go ape about, but just enough to get enough grounds to take the pressure away.
Kenny, we don't do that well. For example, let's state the facts. It might offend some people, but when we had the Matildas World Cup, and 6 months earlier, the Socceroos played in Qatar. We had a 6-month window where Australia, the game was exploding with interest. And then, of course, we had the show beforehand. I said, look, are we going to maximise this opportunity? Kenny, what you're saying now is correct, but that's when you go to the government, when the game's hot, when the game's popular, when you're smashing all the television records ever on the history of television, where the television was born. We've smashed all the records. And what did we do with that? What I'm talking about, our governing body should go to the government, get in bed with FIFA and say, we need funds, we need to develop the game. And mate, you can't go there now when the Matildas are losing and not making the finals and doing really badly at Olympic Games. This is where we need to be more. We need to be smarter and clever. We need to go to the government when we've got the opportunity.
Angelo, the crazy thing is, the crazy thing that I look at, even the fact that things are going bad to the Matildas, mate, they're still selling out stadiums. They're still you try and get a ticket for the Korea game. And on the 4th, which is 2 weeks away.
But what's the governing body doing about it, Kenny?
No, I agree with you. But the point I'm making is we're a fractured sport. We always have been. Victoria, New South Wales, we could never agree on anything. You know, we're still so fractured that it needs everyone to get together and say, for the good of the sport, how do we get together and get us some? It does not just basic facilities. I'm only saying. Give us some training, give us some dressing rooms with showers for a start, and some pitches with some drainage. You know, and if it rains, who cares?
The problem, Kenny, listen to the problem is, before you guys come on, we have 5 federations. Look at the States, 5 federations, not together. In Europe, in Italy, is there 5 federations or different federations at all? Angelo, this is the point I'm making here as well. Why couldn't there be one federation running the game, then we'd be all united? They're all not united. There's too many federations. There's state federations. I'm not going to mention any of them at all, but that's the point I make. And Loui, and you know that yourself, the federations help the states, whatever we can do, we try to work with everybody, and that's what we're trying to do. But you know yourself, how do you feel with so many federations? You think, Loui, shouldn't we have only one to run the game in the country?
I agree. I definitely agree. There should be one. And we can see that every state has got its own setup, its own arrangements, its own programs. That's why a national team fails. If we're all working under the same banner, you know, we would see a lot better results with our national teams. But unfortunately, every federation has its own ideas, and everyone thinks they do it better than everyone else. You know, it's got to be a uniting front. And as Kenny said, even when we lobby the government, we've got to go in there uniting, and on a uniting front where we can fight them. Because, I don't see it happening, to be honest. And it's an interesting point that was raised earlier about amalgamation of clubs. That's something I definitely agree with. There are too many clubs, and once our generation moves on, I'm really concerned about a lot of the small clubs and whether they can afford to be around. And I think people need to get off their high horses about, we are South Melbourne, or we are Heidelberg, or we are Brunswick City, whoever you may be, and start thinking about potentially, because what that does is you run, and I've said this, get 5 clubs to merge, run 5 junior programs into one senior team. Then you start competing against all the academy teams.
Yep. That's an excellent point, Loui, from a president's point of view. I'm sure that you meet with other presidents, but in Adelaide, when we had a team called West Adelaide, or Hellas, they're actually interrelated with Adelaide Olympic, which is Greek, and other, the amateur Greek community did the Greek teams in the amateur league and so on and so on. And I think Tony, I'd like to bring him into this because he wrote about it. Adelaide United was born like that, to be part of the people. It was a team of the people, for the people. It became Adelaide United is owned by the people. That's the philosophy behind that. But I think that we suffer a lot from this disenfranchised and division, like in Melbourne. I think Melbourne's got a fantastic opportunity. You've got 6 million people there, and you've probably got too many teams. If there was some sort of cartel, like Brunswick had 4 other teams that related to it, magnificent. I think that it's not so hard to do, but we make it hard.
You never hear the AFL argue with any state competition. They never argue. They're always together. They're always, whatever the AFL says, it's there, it's done. That's it. We've never heard an argument with anybody. The other sports, the rugby league, we never hear any trouble. Rugby union, why? And this is why Kenny, and Harry, you know that.
Harry, that's because they fund from the top down.
Yes, true.
We fund from the bottom up.
That's right.
Our kids pay the price, right? And we've got lots of hard-working people, like at Brunswick, but unfortunately, we've got a situation where majority of times these kids are funding
the top
to the top, and as long as we do that, we will never prosper. We will never prosper.
I think we need to have a summit for the game. A summit, basically.
The reality is we're a working class sport, that's getting stolen from us by the wealthy, and that's whatever the Premier League in England. It's becoming a sort of a wealthy sport. That's not what football or soccer is. Soccer is for
Kenny, the problem is that if you talk to Football Australia, they won't mind me saying this, right? There's a mission statement. If you talk to the APL, there is a mission statement. If you talk to an A-League club, they've got a mission statement. If you notice, and I read all of that because I'm interested in that sort of thing, the mission statements are nearly the same, but they're not actually directed at the community, the heartland of football. For example, you mentioned about AFL. AFL get nearly $2 billion in television rights. The ARL, why do they feed from top to bottom? Because they already get the money from the government. Why is basketball growing so fast? Because basketball have got it right. And we are not capable at the top. I'm talking about at the top. Now, Loui, he's sitting as president. He would expect some sort of mission statement integrated with his club. He would expect some sort of governance, like some sort of consultation from the top. Obviously he's driving a community club, community focused, and obviously he's trying to engage the community as much as he can. But that's why we continue to complain, Kenny. What is the problem? It's at the top. Why are we not maximising the opportunities of the participation, the popularity, the money coming in? FIFA coming to Australia, we're doing nothing with it. Gianni Infantino was there. He was there. What did we do with it?
Mate, we are, but we create income streams for people that shouldn't be in the game. We've created.
That's another factor.
I mean, and I don't care who I offend when I say that. There's some really good people in the game, but there's a lot of people are making big money in our game and not giving us anything back. Not a razoo back. My grandson who's 8. Today's registration last week, and he plays in the little small pitches. And he's playing in the North Sydney area, and he'll play probably 11, maybe 12 games. $490.
Jesus.
That's no boots. That's no. It's absolutely outrageous, right?
Guys, we can.
In Europe, mate, still in Europe today, young kids pay next to nothing to play. They don't.
Well, I'll tell you, Kenny. I'll tell you, my son plays in the under 10s. He's 9, and we pay €40 a month.
Gee.
But mate, they've got 3 pictures there. They've got. I think Harry would have seen some of the. I can't compare. Well, I don't want to compare, but I'm comparing the money, Kenny. The money side, I think in Australia is becoming a tragedy. It's far too expensive.
And Football Australia's got to step in, and they've got to. I mean, and there is some good private academies. But there's more bad ones than good ones. There's people who have created academies, massive income streams, and a lot of the parents have got a lot to answer for too. Because the parents should know the ability of their kids. They shouldn't be striving and believing the nonsense that they get told by a lot of these. We can make him a professional player. Really? Has he got the ability to start with? Has he got the raw ability? If he doesn't, I don't care how much money you're going to pay. I don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. They'll take the money.
They'll just take the money. And unfortunately, we've headed down that path where there's 15-year-old kids coaching 10 and 11-year-olds. Why is a 15-year-old who should be playing the game? Why is he coaching kids?
Exactly.
Really?
Good point.
We're lacking coaches, aren't we? Lacking the proper coaches around. Not many coaches want to come in and do anything.
We've driven guys. We've driven lots of ex-pros at the game that would happily do it for free.
Yes.
I mean, I've focused my coaching stuff on grassroots for 25, 30 years. I've done women, girls, schools, always at community level because I believe I had to put something back in the game. And I know plenty of players that feel the same way. Plenty. A lot that are happy to do it for free. They don't want any money to do it. They'll invest a bit of time. But unfortunately, the right people don't engage with the players. They don't do it.
We have lots of ex-players turning up on the 11th, of course. So many players turning up. We're going to be talking to them, seeing to them. We're going to see all their opinions on the game as well and talk to them quickly. There's going to be that many of them that played before the NSL and how it was before the NSL and how much it cost them to get into the game there. That's the other thing too. We don't know from the past. Fix the past, go to the past, fix the future. See what they used to do in those days as well, Kenny and everybody on here. So we're going to let Loui go. Thank you, Loui, for joining us tonight. I'll see you on Friday. I want my souvlaki, mate.
Nice to meet you.
I'm coming for the souvlaki, guys.
Looking forward.
I'll see you there. No worries. Too easy. So, boys, thank you, Loui. Thank you. And let me say one thing. Thank you, Loui. Thank you.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time. Do you have what it takes to become a soccer superstar? Look no further than Soccer Pro Academy. Led by experienced coaches, including a former Socceroo, the Academy provides world-class training to help you reach your full potential. From technical skills to tactical awareness, they'll help you develop the skills and mindset needed to succeed at the highest level. Soccer Pro Academy, where champions are made.
Are you looking for the perfect kit for your football club? Try Arrow Sport today. From jerseys to shorts to socks, Arrow Sport will have you completely covered. We can even cover your merchandising line, including hats, beanies, scarves, jumpers, and so much more. So if you're looking for excellent lead times, great pricing, and even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au. And even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au.
Looking for a haven to unwind and indulge? Look no further than Brista Cafe, nestled in the heart of Derrimut Village Shopping Centre. From decadent homemade gourmet cookies to scrumptious muffins, every bite is a delight. Everyone loves Brista Cafe, and you will too. So why wait? Visit Brista Cafe today and taste the difference for yourself.
Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called There Is Only One Football.com, guys. You've got all sorts of stuff from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
And let me just say, we're gonna go through some of them. And Tony, how have you been? We haven't spoken to you for a while. What are you doing? What's happening, mate?
Oh, I came out of retirement to work up at Woomera.
Uh-huh. You take a
same
ball,
sort of thing.
Take a ball with you, a ball as well.
No, well, in 6 months I did 700 k's of walking and lost about 11 kilos.
Oh my God!
No, it was
the
whole idea was I wasn't allowed to miss any. I did say by missing the Adelaide games or Socceroos games, you can get stuff. But I ain't doing it. And they agreed. So
God. Let me
but anyway, I'm back. So yeah.
Now,
but I'm off target.
Welcome back.
Get up at 3 a.m. to go to Sydney.
Yeah, we're going to let you go shortly. I spoke to Tony the other day offline, and I asked him about Craig's opinion on the new Socceroo jersey. And I'm saying, what did you say, Tony, about that jersey? The special, were they arrows or something, or what was going on? I mean,
that's like a Jamaican kid.
I can't believe it. And have a look at mine. Mine looks a lot better. But anyway, the thing about that is, I said to myself, if a player goes anywhere near a Socceroo playing on the ground, they're going to look at it and say, have they got double vision or something? That could go against. That could really work, double vision, looking at what's going on.
Growing.
That could throw them.
Frank said it is growing on them. Yeah,
Yes,
he
yes.
said that the more they wear it, the more they're getting used to it, the more they're growing. It's growing on them as an item. Still a bit iffy about the away kit, but
Unbelievable. Mate.
Yeah, but seeing them playing, seeing them training and that on the videos, it just doesn't look too bad. Like I said, maybe it is growing. I don't know. It's just because it was such a radical change. I think that's what took everyone.
That's the thing. Now, Carlos, you want to say something about it as well? It's up to you.
Yeah, look, in defence of this, the new strip is in honour of cultural Indigenous heritage.
Yes.
It has been designed by an Indigenous artist after a lot of competition.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it's not mainstream, but it reflects our cultural heritage, and people will grow to like it. Yes, it's different. In relation to registration fees, as a former club secretary, I know that from the $490, and I pay $410 a year to play 55 soccer in Sydney.
My God.
Out of that money, the club will be, from memory, when we paid what every club has to pay, we'll be lucky to collect $20.
Gee.
From every registration fee, there is FA takes a cut, Football New South Wales takes a cut, the local football association takes a cut.
Gee.
Then we got the insurance component, which is compulsory insurance in case we get injured, which is a topic for another day because it doesn't cover you very much. And then from there, you also got to factor in your council and the lights. So the issue of the registration, player registration, is more complex than saying the NRL or the AFL is doing this. It is a lot of parts to the equation that if we're going to make football more accessible, everyone has to take a hit along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And councils don't have the money. And in my view, Football New South Wales, Football Victoria need to partner with, council will come to you and says, we could only afford $250,000. If the state government kicks in $700,000, we will give you a new, plastic grass pitch. In my view, Football New South Wales, Football Victoria, that have no doubt have cash reserves and they invest wisely, need to come in as a third party and say, we'll invest together for the better of the game. But Football New South Wales does not invest in the grounds, and they got money. But in my view, when Leica Oval was falling apart, the local council says, we can't afford to redevelop. We can only do this. So then the federal government and the state government came along and kicked in some money because election year, right? But to me, Football New South Wales should have come in and says, right, we will partner with you, but this is a ground becomes the base for something. So I know the football fees are expensive, but it's a lot of parts to the equation that need to be looked at, not just FA and taking a cut. There's a lot of parties involved that feed off the $410 that I pay or $490 that Wilson Jr. has to pay.
Of course, Angelo.
Yeah, no, I've got a point. I forgot to mention before, but I know Tony would know this as well. There's one issue with football right around Australia, which doesn't happen in Europe: the amateur league. Mm-hmm. The amateur league is untapped. For example, I talk about South Australia. Their contribution to betterment of football is zero. Their cash flow is millions and millions and millions. What the question I ask, even you guys, I want you to answer me: what does the amateur league do with the millions and millions of dollars they put in the bank? Every club in Australia, NPL club, for example, Adelaide City or in the Olympics, they raise money from the bottom up, like Kenny was saying, but they spent it on players. They paid first-team players, and they have a budget and so on and so on. I want you to tell me from a football perspective, what does the amateur league do with the millions and millions and millions of dollars they put in the bank?
Well, Carlos mentioned it earlier on. FA take a cut. Football New South Wales. Let's talk about New South Wales. FA take a cut. Football New South Wales take a cut. The local, like Manly Association, take a cut. Council take a cut, which I'm very against because they're double dipping. Because you're already paying your council rates and fees, and they're double dipping to the clubs. So all these chipping away at the money, and 90% of the people at amateur clubs are there on an honorary basis. They don't get paid. They work in the canteens for free. The president cuts the grass.
Exactly, Kenny. But after all those payments that you mentioned, and volunteers and so on, I know for sure, because one of them was on our board, the amateur association, not the amateur league clubs, because each individual club will have a project. They want to build a stadium, pay the council, so on. But the amateur league have millions and millions of dollars that don't contribute to our game. That's my point.
Well, I mean, I don't know I know Football New South Wales has got a lot of money, and obviously the amateur money goes into Football New South Wales because you've got to be affiliated to Football New South Wales. You can't get referees, you can't get grounds, you can't get any of that. But
that's peanuts, Kenny. They still have millions after that. What do they do with that money? What do they do with that money?
They just bank it.
Yeah,
exactly, Carlos. Exactly.
Yeah, they've got plenty of money in the bank, but a lot of the money also goes to, for example, local federations have got technical directors getting $100,000. And you look at these guys, you go, who are they?
I know. I'll give you an example very quickly. I'm sorry that I brought this up, but I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. A lot of those millions should be helping the game. For example, in Italy, Division 4, which is Serie D, right? I know what happens to the distribution of money. It goes into the upflow of developing and betterment the game. For example, the FIGC, the federation, they govern and they tell each Serie D team that they must play 4 underage players. So that's a starting point. But then there's development money. That's the rule and regulation. Every amateur league team must play 4 underage players under the age of 18, right? 2006, 7 and 9. So born. So what I'm saying, Australia, this is a major problem which could be changed by the Football Federation, because what the amateur league comes under that umbrella. And they should be stepping in and say, hang on, guys, you're playing 40-year-old players, 30-year-old players. What is happening with your money? There should be some of that percentage of that money should be going into the development of the game.
Exactly. That doesn't happen.
Mate, it sort of is, mate, because what happens is we pay our registration fees, and as Carlos says, when you start taking the chunks away, the local club themselves are left with 2/5 of nothing. I mean, without the volunteers, they wouldn't exist, right? They couldn't survive. Yeah,
but I agree with Angelo that Football New South Wales and Manly Warringah, we have decent cash reserve that they invest prudently for the future and to cover expenses. I agree that some of that invested funds should come back to the grassroots to help the betterment of the grounds by becoming a partner with the local council. If we give you this, we want exclusive use and we want better drainage. But at the moment, the money is invested for the future to cover overheads. I don't see the money or part of the money flowing back into grassroots by having investment in the grounds that are in poor state, and wait till if we don't get the rains, we either get too much rain of late or we get no rain. If we got no rain, the ground's like concrete.
You've got to look at how top heavy Football New South Wales is with staff. But look how top heavy FA is with staff. They're all getting paid big ticket money.
Well, that's a conversation, a restructure.
Look, guys. I've been thinking about this a lot because I want the game to grow in Australia. The Amateur League has got a lot of responsibility. They've been sort of like overlooked. But these guys, Kenny, for example, a 40-year-old player goes there. They pay registration fees. Instead of paying $400, they'll say, "Give us $500." That extra $100 goes towards their paying the players. But at the end of the day, the Filthy Rich Association in Australia, you guys can check on this, they are millionaires. I've spoken millions of dollars.
Angelo, what you just said, I've spoken a few years ago to someone, it's called the Multicultural Football League. Multicultural communities coming in and starting their own league, and they've done that. Not only that, but there's a Chinese Football League, the Chinese Soccer League in Victoria. So there's all these little leagues that are not affiliated with Football Australia. And they told me here that you can start your own competition, whatever you want to do. You don't have to be affiliated with Football Australia or Football Victoria. They're starting their own little leagues. I can't understand how all this money that they're making, it's all true what you said. They're making a lot of money. It's all true.
Yeah. And Harry, I could bet your bottom dollar that Adelaide United Football Club could have at the front of their shirt Amateur League of South Australia.
Exactly.
100%. 100%. The thing is that what is Football Australia doing about it? All this money, millions and millions and millions of dollars going into the coffers of the Amateur League.
Exactly. And this is happening in Melbourne. That's the thing. Guys, we can talk about this all night. But I need to get through I need to go through these scores here because people are waiting through these scores. Me doing community, I tell you what, there's one of these games this week that you guys are going to laugh what I actually said on the weekend. The game on the weekend with Friday night, of course, Heidelberg United 5, Hume City 1. That was a thrashing. Green Gully 3, Melbourne Knights 0, Port Melbourne 0, Melbourne Victory 3, and they've won. Now, let me tell you about this game on Saturday. This was the Preston, there's another game before I do. That's Oakley 1, St Albans 2. They've never beaten them in 35 years. Oakley for the first time, St Albans Saints beat him in 35 years. It was like a World Cup game on the ground. I saw it in the video. I said I could not believe how crazy it was. First time to see some of these clubs are building themselves further up. Now on Saturday, I called this game between Avondale and Preston. I called it the Sahara Desert Cup. The Sahara Desert Cup. Let me tell you why I called it that. It was that hot. I've never seen conditions that players could play in these conditions at 35, 36 degrees. No cover. I was out on the ground. It's the Sahara Desert Cup, Carlos. I think, and that was a top of the table clash, of course, mate. Honestly, I tell you, now I know what Tony, now I know what Craig goes through when he goes to training. 35 to 36 degrees, and you're telling me, Tony, they played 10 o'clock at night? They should have played the game at midnight here on the weekend, not bloody 10 o'clock. Are you for real?
They train at night too.
They
train at night as well.
I can't believe this, mate.
Temperatures during the days are too hot, so their games are played very late at night.
Mate, I'm still hot from Saturday. I still can't get rid of the heat out of me, mate.
Unbelievable. They still have drink breaks.
They did have drink breaks. They did have drink breaks. Yes, I thought it was a cricket game. Drinks breaks, yeah. But let me tell you,
Harry, you can't end the show without talking about that game. Preston versus South Melbourne, nearly 10,000 people.
Nine.
I know everyone's talking about it.
They're still talking about it.
But I think it's absolutely fantastic. I know something happened, but I'm talking about the following.
Yes.
They've got a better following than some of the A-League clubs.
Let me say this week, and it's going to be massive let me give you a hint about the game, but who's playing Preston this week. It's going to be amazing. But let me say, Avondale, that was a top of the table clash, of course. Preston, I couldn't believe it. Avondale have been playing all year during the daytime on Saturday during the heat, which means to me it was like as if they were acclimatised to more of the heat. And of course, Preston only scored one goal. Altona Magic versus Dandenong City. Altona 0, Dandenong City. Let me tell you something about this. And of course, another game that they haven't beaten them for about 20 years. Dandenong Thunder beat South Melbourne 1-0. That's an absolute miracle as well.
Right.
But unbelievable. And let me tell you, the games this week in Victoria, we're finally getting.
The Pope is Catholic.
Well, I don't know what's going on, Carlos. At Summer Street, Melbourne Knights versus Catholic. Melbourne Victory, Dandenong City versus Heidelberg, Hume City versus South Melbourne. Here we go. And then Preston Lions versus Oakley at BT Connor Reserve. They're talking about at least 7,000 people, Angelo. 7,000 between another Greek community club.
Magnificent.
And that's going to be at least 7,000
I
people.
applaud.
Believe me, I can.
applaud.
Let me just say one thing about this, guys. And they were comparing the games of the A-League. And let me tell you, that night when South Melbourne played, they played Preston at Preston. There was only a few thousand people. It was a few thousand people at Amy Park, and there was 9,036. And actually, let me tell you, that would have been 10,000 because a lot of other visitors came in. It would have been 10,000 people at least. If they'd had added those guys in counting, it would have been that 10,000. Now, this is the thing, Carlos.
Well, Harry,
Go on.
Harry, sorry, just quickly, it would have been more than 9,300 because they only actually count the paying players,
That's what
fans, right?
Exactly.
I reckon it would have been over 10,000.
There was. To me, there was more. That's how I looked at it because anyone there that was walking in, they had people from Sydney. They had journalists from Sydney. They had a lot of the journalists coming in there with their accreditation, which means they didn't count them. A lot of journalists were coming in. So it was definitely 10,000 people. So, Carlos, can we get that sort of crowd in Sydney at all? Any chance we can try and build something
Sydney,
like that? My God.
Sydney is a different landscape. And I was at the Rockdale in the local derby, Rockdale Sutherland, which Rockdale won, had the death 3-2. It was Sutherland's home. It was a local derby in St. George. I think I saw, if you were lucky, 400.
Gee.
No, Sydney is a different landscape.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
not sure
I don't
how to improve the figures, but I don't think we're going to get the figures ever that some of the Melbourne games are getting, and good luck to Melbourne.
Let me say,
But Harry, let's strip it back.
I know
There's
what
only
you're
one
going to say,
point
Kenyon.
in there.
I know.
And it's Preston Lions. Mate, South Melbourne played someone, they got 300 or 400.
Yes.
You know, it's Preston Lions, they get 7,000 people, you know, and that's what's making the crowds
Yes.
and their skewed. Marconi played up, they got 600, 700.
Gee, my God.
It's not, you can't wave a flag and say
You can't do that.
NPL Victoria is flying because of Preston Lions.
No.
It's one team.
Kenny, the other thing is that when they played Heidelberg at the home of the Matildas, there was more people there from Heidelberg finally turning up. They only get 200 people at the village there. I could not believe it. Then all of a sudden they had maybe 600 to 700 people turn up for the game against. Of course, that's a thing.
It goes back to Abby.
They went for a holiday. They went for a holiday.
Fair weather supporters.
Exactly.
You know, they're no real supporters, mate. They're no real supporters.
And
I don't care what you say.
But Kenny, there's also the fact that the teams, let me tell you a little bit about marketing, but it's common sense as well. A lot of these clubs, like Mark Hurdy, they've got probably over 1,000 registered kids.
Yes.
But are those kids, 1,000 registered kids, feel part of that club? Do they make it compulsory? Like when they register, they say, listen, here's a season's pass, you're coming to the game. Right now, I'm not saying that you've got to be a directive or military or be a Hitler sort of like, come out and say, be very directive about it. But it's common sense. Adelaide United do it well. Adelaide United have got an excellent relationship, not a good relationship, an excellent relationship with the Kids Association, with the registered, with the Amateur League, and so on and so on and so on. That's our football family. And I think Carlos mentioned about Sydney being a different landscape. That is a fact. That is a fact. My question is, do these clubs do enough, right, with their own registered kids to make them come to the game?
Now, let me say, Tony, last year...
You can lead a horse to water, maybe you can't make them go to the game.
Tony, you saw some games...
You can't make these kids and their parents go to the games.
No,
they can either...
Kenny, I'm sorry, but there is a way you can do that.
It's been done at Brunswick City, I'll tell you.
Mate, you wouldn't be able to make me take my son, but then you want to
We need to go.
We all need to go, but let me say, Tony, before we go, Tony, you've been to some of the games in South Australia. Tell me you've seen some big crowds at the NPL. You have seen some, at least over 1,000 at least.
Yeah, now there's been some very good crowds. Something like Campbelltown, Adelaide City's sort of like been a little bit disappointing, because one of the biggest clubs, I guess, in the history of this state, and the crowds aren't. Yeah, I'd love to see it back to what it was. Honestly, it's a bit of a shame. Same as West Adelaide. You look at that; it's a bit of a fall from grace, but still they're very proud clubs. And I still enjoy going to watch them play. But yeah, there's some different teams. Like Modbury seem to be getting some decent crowds to games. Campbelltown with Daniel Mullen coaching there now, they're getting reasonably good crowds. But yeah, no, I try to space myself around. Being a Woomera sort of like thing, it's over now. But I only just got back from the US 2 days ago, seeing the sun over there in Florida. So I'm still a bit on the old. I'm not sure whether I should be awake or asleep time.
I get you,
I've got to get up at 3 a.m.
No, we're all going to go now. So let me say next week.
But
We're all going to go, but let me say one thing before we get one little thing, guys. We're going to be splitting this show up into 2. We're going to actually edit the show into 2, and that's what we're going to do because it's too long to see. But we're going to help do that. But don't forget next week the Socceroos play
idea.
Tuesday night. The Socceroos play who? Carlos, China. Is that right? China.
Thursday
night. And
Indonesia in Sydney, China away.
We're going to be talking about those games next week. You're going there? We're going to get you our chief reporter for the game, of course, Carlos. You are. But don't forget, guys, the 11th of April.
Good.
The 11th of April, don't forget there at Brunswick City Soccer Club. Paul Wade, it's free. Walk in. It's going to be amazing. A lot of 1,000 people at least. So, guys, thank you for joining us tonight on Football List. And thank you, Angelo.
Good night, everyone.
All of you boys and coming on. See you, boys. Thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
See you guys.
Don't forget, next week, it's going to be Socceroos time, guy, next week.